Hello everyone and welcome to Trade Talks Mexico. My name is Louise Lee Hultberg and I work here at International Trade at the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce. Trade Talks is a webinar series offered in a collaboration between all regional chambers of commerce in Sweden. Each episode consists of a brief touchdown in a market that's currently very important for Swedish firms, allowing viewers and firms to assess a completely new market without having to board a single flight. Now it's Mexico's turn to take the spotlight, and I will leave it over to Alejandro Alday, the ambassador of Mexico to Sweden, to give some introductory remarks.
Good afternoon and welcome to Trade Talks Mexico. I am Alejandro Alday, ambassador of Mexico to Sweden, and it is my honor to open these important discussions on fostering partnership across borders. Today, we highlight the opportunities awaiting Swedish companies in Mexico, one of Latin America's most dynamic economies. With a skilled workforce, strategic location, and a set of trade agreements with the biggest markets globally, Mexico offers a unique environment for growth and collaboration. As part of this vision, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, together with all major industrial sectors in the country, recently introduced the so-called Plan Mexico 2030, a national strategy focusing on strengthening industrial capacity, increasing exports, attracting foreign investment, and creating 1.5 million jobs, all while promoting sustainability and reducing poverty. These discussions are timely, as the recent announced tariffs by the US directly impact Mexico, a key trade partner for Swedish companies in Latin America. While negotiations are ongoing, these measures have faced strong opposition both in Mexico and in the US by major trade and business associations. This webinar aims to inspire trade, investment, and cooperation, building on over 140 years of strong ties between our countries, reaffirmed last year during the state visit from Sweden to Mexico. Thank you all for being here and online, and I now pass the floor to Luis, who will introduce Trade Talks.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I will now leave it over to my co-host Antonio to introduce himself and also set the stage of today's agenda.
Well, as you said, my name is Antonio Perez Antisteban. I'm head of trade and economic affairs at the Mexican Embassy in Sweden. And, I'm delighted to co-moderate the session alongside Luis. We are joined today by 4 distinguished speakers who will share unique insights and observations. Each of them will present for 10 minutes, followed by a brief panel discussion. Without further ado, let me introduce Andrea Parra Villanueva, Executive Managing Director of the Nordic Chamber of Commerce in Mexico, who will provide an overview of the Mexican market from a Nordic perspective. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce Trade Talks. I'm here today to discuss navigating the Mexican business landscape as a Swedish firm. Mexico offers incredible opportunities for Swedish companies, but like any market, it comes with its own challenges. As a representative of the Nordic Chamber of Commerce in Mexico, I will share some insights and strategies to help Swedish business succeed in the dynamic and growing economy. So some highlights: Mexico. Why Mexico is such an attractive market? Mexico is considered as the 15th largest economy in the world, while leading exporter in Latin America. Mexico is the second largest economy in Latin America with a GDP of over 1.4 trillion USD. Is strategically located, serving as a gateway to the Americas and top trading partners. for the US and Canada under the USMCA agreement. As an emerging global player in the economy, Mexico has a foreign direct investment of 29.3 billion, placing Mexico as the 19th world exporter in the ranking. Mexico is considered to be one of the most open economies in the world, with limited restrictions to trade, since we have access to 50 countries through its mutual free trade agreements and 33 bilateral investment agreements and 9 limited scope agreements. We have a free trade agreement between Mexico and the European Union, which has significantly improved the trade between Sweden and Mexico. And it has been in the last 2 weeks just re-signed, and we are committed to this agreement. For Swedish firms, there are several thriving industries. The automotive and manufacturing sectors, for example, have long-standing connections with Sweden. Renewable energy is another growing area of opportunity, and thanks to Mexico increasing focus on sustainability, sorry, there is the slide. The trade relations between Mexico and Sweden have been strengthened in recent years. We have a lot of Swedish companies already here in Mexico, like Volvo, IKEA, SKF, Tetra Pak, ABB. They not only represent Mexico, but are thriving. They're not only represented in Mexico, but they are thriving and growing in their operations. They have successfully tapped into the country's skilled workforce and strategic location, and their growing middle class. Mexico represents a growing opportunity for Swedish companies, as I said, to expand their global footprint while contributing to sustainable growth in the region. In 2023, the trade between Mexico and Sweden was total of 1.4 billion USD, and Mexico's main exports to Sweden include data processing machines, manufactured goods, mineral, coffee, and alcohol. Sweden's main exports to Mexico include mainly manufactured products, automobiles, and pharmaceuticals. There are over 200 Swedish companies operating in Mexico. So, entering in the Mexican market is without its challenges. So first, there are cultural differences. Business in Mexico relies heavily on personal relations. Decision making can take longer because of the hierarchical structures common in Mexican organizations. Second, the regulatory landscape can be tricky. Mexico has a complex bureaucracy process, and particularly for permits and compliances, and this can vary between federal and state levels. We are working on it, but still, it's still complex. And third, while infrastructure we have great infrastructure and it's improving, there are some regional challenges that still face the supply chain. So let's now discuss some strategies that can overcome those challenges that I talk about, and how you can thrive in Mexico. First of all, invest in relationships. Personal connections are critical in Mexico. Frequent in-person meetings and participate in local events that can build trust and long-term partnerships. Understand cultural nuances. hiring local talent who understand the market, can bridge cultural gaps, leverage the right partners. Organizations like the Nordic Chamber of Commerce can connect you with key stakeholders and help you navigate legal frameworks and provide network of peers. And stay updated on policies. This is very important. Given Mexico regulatory evolving landscape, it's essential to monitor changes and invest in legal counsel and compliance team. So how we support, we are the Nordic Chamber of Commerce. Here's where we come in. We are here to help the Swedish firms and the other Nordic companies to establish and grow their presence in Mexico. We offer connections with local businesses, government entities, and Nordic peers, market intelligence and training to bridge cultural and business gaps, and assistance with ESG compliance to meet European and Mexican standards. We advocate and represent through partnerships and events. Our goal is to help the Swedish business navigate the challenges and seize the opportunities in Mexico. So to conclude, Mexico is a land of opportunities for Swedish firms. Success requires cultural adaptability, strategic partnership, and long-term vision. Swedish companies are well positioned to thrive in Mexico, especially with the right support and resources. By investing in relations and leverage local expertise, Swedish firms can make a significant impact. So I encourage you to connect with us at the Nordic Chamber of Commerce in Mexico. We are here to support your journey and ensure your success in this vibrant market. Thank you, everyone, and I look forward for your questions and connecting with you during this event.
As Andrea mentioned, the regulatory challenges are one of the key hinders for Swedish firms in Mexico. So now we will delve deeper into the legal landscape and trade agreements with Cesar Guerra, the Secretary General of the Belgium-based Mexican EU Chamber, and also a past Mexican government official.
Hi, thank you for the invitation. So I'm going to use my time to share with you what is the status of the modernization of the EU-Mexico agreement, as well as highlighting a couple of sectors of interest to Sweden on what's going on in Mexico. My presentation, the headline is "The Time Is Now." And I think I prepared this a couple of weeks ago, but this title is even to the best use now, is very timely. On the negotiation, the status of the negotiation, we have to remind that the agreement that the EU has with Mexico is the first agreement that the European Union negotiated with a country in America. So that's something that is important because it reflects the importance between the EU and Mexico. The original idea was for Europe to have the same advantages that Mexico was providing to the US and Canada in the NAFTA at that time. So it was decided to have this agreement, but it was negotiated in 1998, 1999. So it's kind of an old agreement. And at that time, the European Union was not ready to commit to ambitious concessions, especially on agricultural products. So now the European Union has negotiated other free trade agreements. They are more flexible now in providing concessions on agricultural products, and there are new trade disciplines that have been developed during the past 20 years. So the modernization includes more concessions, especially in agriculture, updating the rules of origin, and incorporating trade disciplines for example, on trade facilitation, on trade sustainable development. So Mexico and the EU are strategic partners, and geopolitics plays an important role here. The announcement on the 17th of January by the European Commission announcing that there was an agreement already achieved with Mexico just a couple of days before Trump became for the second time president of the US, says a lot that the EU sees Mexico as an important partner and wanted to show that the European Union has trading partners beyond the US. So there was an agreement in principle that was announced in April 2018, and then another agreement in principle that was announced in April 2020, but there were a couple of obstacles, including legal architecture and new policies in the energy sector in Mexico, that prevented both parties to conclude the negotiations. So what was announced by the Commission is a rebalancing of concessions, acknowledging that Mexico needed to protect the energy sector, but then there were some adjustments in some concessions that the EU made originally on concessions on agriculture and rules of origin for electric vehicles. So this new rebalancing of the situation is giving us the opportunity to have a new agreement. On the next slide, we can see that Mexico is becoming more relevant. Trump may increase tariffs affecting European products. There are some carve-outs that were negotiated in, for example, in steel and aluminum. The rules of origin are expected to be reviewed in the USMCA next year, and they are expected to become more stricter, especially on vehicles. So Mexico will become more attractive as a destination for producing inputs that comply with new rules of origin for finished products. And to export to the US, the EU companies may consider that Mexico pays no tariffs. We will see in the future, but this is the situation right now. And it is very likely that the EU will pay higher tariffs because of the new threat that Trump has announced against other countries, including the EU. And there is retaliation that was suspended on the Airbus and Boeing dispute that we will see if in March these retaliation measures, this increase of tariffs between the EU and the US would enter into force, and then eventually we see that there will be more tariffs in the bilateral trade between the US and the EU. Finally, I wanted to focus on two sectors. One is mining, and Sweden is the most important mining country in the EU, so I think this is important news for Sweden. Open pits projects were prohibited in Mexico for the last 6 years. However, President Chambers has a more flexible approach, provided the open pit projects has a comprehensive sustainable component. This is incorporated in the Plan Mexico that was announced a couple of weeks ago. And at the second sector, and Andrea already mentioned a little bit about this, Plan Mexico as well points out the importance of green energy. There are two state-owned enterprises, Pemex for petroleum and Comisión Federal de Electricidad for electricity. And that is not going to change in terms of ownership. However, just yesterday was announced new legislation that provides clarity to private participants on how to invest in Mexico and participate in the energy market. There were a couple of of changes. There was a reform in 2013 in Mexico in the energy, providing more openness, and then 2019 it changed the vision, and now we will have a new vision on 2024, providing something in the middle that would provide incentives for private companies to invest in Mexico together with the state-owned enterprises. So with this, I conclude my presentation, inviting companies to exchange views with the Mexican Chamber of Commerce in the EU. We provide insights on the bilateral relation, and we are here to support the efforts of both sides, Mexico and the EU, to materialize and conclude the ratification process that is going to take place in the European Parliament and the Mexican Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. It was a fantastic highlight that you brought up about the updated agreement between the European Union and Mexico, and also I really highlight what you said, that the Mexican moment at this time, and also the Plan Mexico 2030, which is a fantastic plan that will we will have a very clear guide of what will proceed on our strategy as Mexico as an economy. Thank you very much, Cesar. Having said that, Cesar, now I will invite to get an overview with Ms. Olivia Padilla from the Committee of Promotion and Attraction of Investment at the Mexican Business Council of Foreign Trade, Investment and Technology, COMCE, which is COMCE, COMCE from Mexico. Olivia, are you available? The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us to be here with you today at this webinar for the COMCE and InvestMX. This is a really good opportunity to talk about Mexico and the industrial development in Mexico. Well, we would like to show you, this is the map of Mexico, and at this map you can see where is the manufacturing industry in Mexico. Every little point with color or color point, it's a cluster or a space where the industrial is in Mexico. As you can see, the color, we can start with the most complex and the least complex industrial. For Mexico, we have a lot of growing right now with aerospace, pharmaceutical, medical devices, and electronics here in Mexico. As you can see, the development in Mexico are for regions. We have different regions. At the north is the most development, and also at the middle of the country. Right now, as Andrea and also Cesar explained before, the automotive and the pharma and the new clean industry is growing up in Mexico. Well, this is really important for us to talk about the economic engines. For us, it's really, we can talk about the FDI. As you know, the FDI helps to increase and grow the economic development. Also, we have job creation, and really important, the technology transfer. We can get this if we work together with the FDI in Mexico or in any country. Also for Mexico right now, the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, are really important for us. With this, we can bring to Mexico not only the OEMs, even we have to bring here the supply chain integration of these OEMs, and this is really important and help to growth. Also, it helps to make advance in innovation and technology. Also, we can get new employment generation and also the infrastructure development. For public projects, as also they talk about it, we have new infrastructure projects. Also, we have, with this, it helps to private sector roads and increase public services. And finally, the last engine that we can talk about is the local market. Mexico has a huge local market with consumption, demand, and we have diverse market needs. So we think that if we put the view or the eye on this, we can help to bring to grow together. Well, we would like to talk also about the consolidated industry in Mexico. As I show you on the map, this is the most growing industries in Mexico for the recent years. We have here aerospace, this is the growth, also electronics, pharma, automotive, and finally food and beverage. As we know, Sweden has presence in Mexico in automotive and pharma mainly, but also we have some companies in food and beverage. But we also have emerging industries in Mexico that can be an opportunity to grow together and to find out something that we can do it. We have e-commerce, streaming, the fintech, and biotech, IT, as they say before, Andrea and Cesar, the green energy, and also creative economy. Well, this is a really nice slide, or I think that this is really nice because you can see the important or the business opportunity. It's a huge business opportunity in Mexico. We have a lot of Asian imports, but at this moment also we trying to find out new FDI or new investments or trade commitments to can open this business opportunity. Well, this is the announcements of investments for Mexico for the last year. We have announcements for manufacturing sector, the 56%, and beverage for 42%, automobile for 18%, auto parts 13%, iron and steel 9%, and aerospace equipment for 2%. This is different states that has these announcements. Well, this is really important for us. We would like to show you here how and where it's better to work in Mexico about the operating cost. As you can see at the north, also as the clusters and the industry is already development, we have the higher cost to be there. Then we have the green, the darker green is for the moderately high operating cost in Mexico. But we have to see here the opportunity to develop new industry and new sectors and new spaces to grow in Mexico. Then we have the moderately low, and finally the low costing, that is the less development areas or region in Mexico. But this is a good chance to think about different regions and spaces in Mexico to make business, or to do business, I'm sorry. And finally, as you can see, it's all related. You can see how is the GDP per capita on these states in Mexico. As you can see, the less development or the poor development region in Mexico, it's the region with the smallest GDP, and the most development areas has the best GDP per capita in Mexico. And also this is related with the last one, and you can see with the operating cost in Mexico. And well, finally, I would like to thank you, and I will be here to talk about anything that you want to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. And lastly, we're going to hear a case example from the Swedish firm Tetra Pak that successfully entered and thrived in the Mexican market. So welcome up, Pedro Colchado, the Portfolio Director at Tetra Pak.
Hello, Sweden. Good morning. It is so exciting to be here today, and thank you very much for the invitation to these Trade Talks by Swedish Chambers. My name is Pedro Colchado. I am Portfolio Director for Mexico in Tetra Pak Mexico, working for this company for more than 25 years. And today I will have the pleasure to talk to you about Tetra Pak operating in Mexico as a Swedish company. Let me start by guessing that most of you know Tetra Pak, but let's do a reminder before jumping into Mexican facts. So as you know very well, Tetra Pak is a world-leading food processing and packaging solutions company. We work with consumers and suppliers, providing access to safe food for hundreds of millions of people in more than 160 countries, supported by more than 24,000 employees, located in 27 market companies and technical centers, product development centers, customer innovation facilities, R&D areas, production plants, sales offices, in order to deliver the best experience for customers and consumers in terms of packaging, processing, and service solutions, as we will see later on. Speaking about Mexico, now sharing with you some relevant facts. We have that Tetra Pak has been in this country for more than 60 years already, and everything started in 1962. It's very curious to say that it started as a collaboration between the government and Tetra Pak, the Mexican government and the Tetra Pak head offices in Sweden. And it started with school feeding programs. So with these school feeding programs, we had the Tetra Pak technology introduced in the country. And by doing this, Tetra Pak Mexico had the first packaging material factory outside Europe. So Mexico was the first one. This packaging material factory was in Mexico City, in the northern part of Mexico City. Now our packaging material factory is located in Querétaro, 2 hours away, driving distance to the north. And this factory is the second largest factory for Tetra Pak in the world because of its geographical position. It is located in Mexico and provides packaging material to our country, but also to US and Canada, to the north, and in the south to Central America, the Caribbean, and some countries in South America. So the geographical position of this factory is extremely relevant for the region. We also have a caps production factory in Baja California, close to the border with the US. And we have 222 packaging filling machines in operation in our customers, and also more than 1,000 processing equipment in the operations of our customers. Let's speak a bit more about this by saying that, well, packaging and the packages are very famous and are present in the eyes of our consumers, of us as consumers. But it's important to remember that Tetra Pak has 3 businesses. Processing, so we provide solutions and equipment for the food and beverage industry, technology and expertise for all the way like cheese, powder, ice creams, beverages, prepared food, plant-based, dairy. And in Mexico, we have a production site for this equipment as well. In the case of packaging, we are present in many categories. Dairy, we are present in juice, still drinks, nectars, water, low alcohol drinks. We are present in tomato, in plant-based dairy alternatives, and many other categories with our portfolio, the widest portfolio in the food and beverage industry for packaging technology. And finally, services. Services, in Mexico, we have a wide organization of services engineers, system specialists, consultants, and also a strong supply chain of parts. By the way, we have in Mexico City a regional distribution center for spare parts supporting our technology, our equipment that is installed in our customer operations with aim, all these services with the aim to improve the performance and optimize costs in the entire life cycle of customer operations. These are the three pillars for us, and they are very present in Mexico across the geography. Our sustainability agenda is something very important to mention. Our approach in sustainability is embodied in our purpose. We commit to making food safe and available everywhere, and we also promise to protect what's good, protecting food, people, and also the planet. First, in this ecosystem, you see food systems, you see climate, circularity, and nature inside the social sustainability. With different initiatives like delivering the most sustainable food package made fully of renewable resources, accelerating recycling, and also simplifying the packaging material structure that we have in our packages. We also prevent food loss and waste, and different initiatives for a sustainable entire value chain of food, and also the decarbonization of the entire cycle of operations we have ourselves and with our customers. A good example of this is the recycling efforts we have in Mexico. We work today with a program that is called Allies in Recycling. We are working hand in hand with recycling and separation plants, collectors, entrepreneurs, governments, clients, companies, universities, and especially with 13 cardboard recyclers, 5 polyaluminum recyclers, generating 400 jobs with the aim to recycle the packages after consumption. We have reached our goal, or 56,000 tons of recycled packaging material last year in 2024, and we're increasing every year our ambition. We have managed to do this by having 600 collection points across the country, and our ambition is high, with aim to increase every year the amount of recycled packaging material that we have. Another cornerstone we mentioned was people. So we protect people. In Mexico, we are contributing to school feeding program. I'm getting to the end of the presentation with a message that we were giving at the very beginning about school feeding programs. So we continue this after more than 60 years, and is still an extremely important initiative for us to secure or to ensure that children receive safe and nutritious food. We are reaching 3.1 million of children with distribution of servings, and we are offering practical support and expertise in this value chain to contribute improving the access to nutritious beverages, reaching millions of children. The school feeding programs have had a major impact in physical health for children, development and learning as an outcome for many of them. And as we know, food at school is often the first meal of the day in a country like Mexico. So this is why our initiative remains as a very important activity to keep in mind. Finally, as a bonus track, let me share with you some facts that are important for Tetra Pak in Mexico to secure the business continuity, but I trust that is going to be also relevant for your projects. Mexico has a key position as Sweden's second largest export market in Latin America, only after Brazil. As we have explained in the case of Tetra Pak, we are not the only case for sure that Mexico is a gateway between North and South. We have the ranking of the 5th largest economy in the world, with a population of 130 million people. By the way, the average in demographics is 30 years, so still a young population with potential of consumption, a consumption that the rate is growing every year. Our trade agreements with, for instance, the European Union or the North American Trade Agreement are extremely relevant for the economy. As an example, in the exports of Sweden exported to Mexico exceeded 1 billion, and the imports, so these are the Mexico exports of goods to Sweden, reached 162 million in 2023. So with these facts, I would like to end my presentation by saying thank you for your attention, and I wish you good luck in your projects. Looking forward for your success, and if you have any question, I will be glad to answer you. Thank you very much for the attention, and good luck.
Thank you, Pedro, and thank you, everyone. What a nice overview. Summarizing each of these topics in less than 10 minutes is definitely not an easy task, so such an impressive work. Now we're going to briefly ask some questions that we got in beforehand, and we're going to try to keep it as interactive as possible, but we might direct some questions to each expert to start with. So my first question is going to be about the American election. Because one key promising aspect of Mexico is its proximity to the US. And a study recently showed that it can lower transaction costs from Sweden to the US by over 30%. So my question is, how do you think that Mexico-Swedish or even Mexico-EU trade can be affected by the election of President Trump and an increasingly protectionist strategy from the US? And I guess we can start with Cesar to answer the question if you're ready.
Yes, thank you for the question. As I mentioned in my presentation, the future does not look clear in terms of tariffs and trade wars. So my guess is that Mexico will play an important role in helping European companies trying to sell their products to the US, as Mexico probably would be affected by tariffs, but it has a stronger relation with the US through the USMCA. So even though there could be some increases in tariffs, my guess is that there is an opportunity to still export products from Mexico to the US by establishing their companies in Mexico, compared to the tariffs the European Union may face when President Trump slaps new measures.
Thank you so much. And Olivia, do you have any perspectives from COMSE about this question?
Well, I agree with Cesar. This could be a really hard time, and the taxes will be increased, and it will be difficult for us at this moment. And obviously, we have to understand and let the time pass to understand what will happen really. As you know, sometimes it's only a way to do public relationships and politics, but let's see what's going on in the future.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess it's always hard to know with these issues. And Antonio, why don't you go ahead with the next question?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. One of the things, as mentioned before, Mexico offers nearshoring opportunities. One of the questions I would like to address, are there any neighboring markets that could offer similar opportunities. I don't know if this could be answered probably by Andrea Parra from the Nordic Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I think so. The companies are here in Mexico, the Swedish companies and the Nordic companies that come to Mexico, they don't just come to work with United States and Canada, they also come to work with some of the Latin American countries. We had some great experiences in the last administration and in the beginning of the administration with Donald Trump, when some of the things were not clear, and some of our companies they look to Latin America and Central America, and they had great opportunities there that they were not expecting. So we are a bridge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Another question, and I will address this to Cesar from your chamber. Which are the main competitors that can offer similar benefits as Mexico?
Oh, very, very interesting question. If you're referring to the competitors in terms of attracting foreign investment to export to the US market, I would say that Mexico is unique. Yes, there are opportunities in Central American countries or even Colombia that are very similar to Mexico, but in terms of logistics to the US, given the proximity, I think Mexico is on parallel in terms of infrastructure as well, in terms of manpower. Mexico has unique opportunities that even Canada, that may have the same proximity, is completely different. Of course, Canada has infrastructure, but the operating costs are completely different from what Mexico is offering. Vietnam is very competitive on manufacturing products that are labor intensive, for example, but Mexico offers opportunities to sell products to the US on high technology sectors as well as intensive of labor. So maybe I'm not answering your question, but my view is that Mexico provides unique opportunities to sell to the US market, even though most of Latin American countries have a free trade agreement with the US.
Thank you very much, Cesar, for that answer. And on the other side, this question will be for Olivia Padilla from COMSE. Now that you were addressing very specifically which are the strengths of every region in Mexico. So the question is, which are the largest complementors to the Mexican market?
Well, as you can see, the regions in Mexico, the development regions in Mexico are really marked at this moment. I mean, at the north, you can see a lot of development, and also in the middle of the country, but we have a lot of opportunities also to bring supply chain to the biggest companies. As I explained on my presentation, the OEMs are a good opportunities, but the complement could be the supply chain. We can bring a lot of tier 1 or tier 2 companies to come to Mexico and to develop and to grow the trade and the economy. And I don't know if that answered that question, but I think that could be a good option to think not only for the big companies, even think about the supply chain companies that can come to Mexico.
Absolutely. Wonderful response to this question, Olivia. Thank you very much. And the following question will be addressed in this case, to Andrea Parra from the Nordic Chamber of Commerce, as she has so much experience in Nordic companies and Swedish. Which is the most common country that Swedish firms can access once operating in Mexico? Andrea.
Well, a lot of our companies are working mainly, well, it varies, but Brazil, Colombia, Chile, all Latin America, but also the medium ones or the small ones that are already like are new, are coming, they usually start in the center, in the small countries in the center of Latin America, because we are really close, and the infrastructure is shared, so we are pretty much everywhere. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And lastly, one question that goes out to everyone. I guess we can start with Olivia to answer the question, then move on to Cesar, and lastly with Andrea. As we mentioned, Mexico is pretty unique in its geopolitical situation and the opportunities it has for Swedish firms. So if you could give one recommendation to a Swedish scale-up company that is planning to enter Mexico and curious about the Mexican opportunities in 2025, what would your number one recommendation be? As shortly and concise as possible. Very difficult, I know, but
Okay, well, I think it's really simple. That is, not be afraid to come. Mexico has good opportunities to develop business. As you can see, we have different sectors that you can improve as FDI. I mean, as investments or just for trading. We have different regions, different sectors. We have good. I think that we have at this moment a good economy, and also we have infrastructure, as they say, and my colleague says, and also we have the good manpower. And the cost to operate in Mexico is really good opportunity to be here. So don't be afraid to understand, and don't be afraid about the culture. Don't be afraid, just think about Mexico as a good opportunity to be to expand business. Also, it's not only we have a good relationship, or we have our main partnership in trade and business are US, but don't be afraid. We don't only have that. We have also free trade agreements, as Andrea says before. We have a lot of things to consider to be here in Mexico.
Thank you so much. Nice words. And Cesar, what would your top recommendation be for the Swedish firms?
Well, difficult to beat what Olivia just said. She provided a very comprehensive response. But what I would say is that look at those opportunities that were not open in the recent past. And my recommendation would be to look at what is going on with water, look at what's going on with green energy and mining. As I said, the potential is huge, and the world is in need of raw materials. And Mexico has the potential to coordinate with the European Union on this Green Deal transition. I know that President Trump has a different idea on green energy, but the EU has made clear the direction to follow, which is green energy, and Mexico is just opening up on these projects, and Mexico has a lot of potential on green energy products, green energy projects.
Water and green energy. Thank you so much, Cesar. And lastly, Andrea, what would your top recommendations be?
Yes, don't be afraid. There have been so many companies that already paved the way, and I will suggest that first of all, go look for for a partner. You have a great partner in the chamber in Stockholm, and also you have a great partner with the Embassy of Mexico in Sweden. They are doing great work. And also with ask, we always tell the companies to ask even some things that are really small, like when where to stay, where to put your kids to school, all of those things that are important for the collaborators of the companies. We are happy in Mexico to help. There's so many people here in the Nordic Chambers. We have these coffee talks, and you can share everything from the laws and regulations and what studies to where do I put my kids to school. So we are a big community that is very willing to help, and that we want you to come. So we will help the companies that are interested in coming. So that will be my recommendation. Ask for help.
Thank you. The Nordic Chamber is indeed a great way to start. So in summary, don't be afraid and find your right networks. That's the key to success in Mexico. And as new sectors are opening up, such as water and green energy, it's more important now than ever before that companies start to look into new markets and new horizons. Thank you everyone who listened. And if you're curious about any more markets, we're going to have Trade Talk webinars going throughout 2025. This was the year's first one. And the most recent one was about Spain, hosted by Norrbotten Chamber of Commerce, that aired in December. So feel free to check their website out if you're curious about that. But again, on behalf of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce, thank you so much for your attention. And thank you to our 4 amazing experts who provided super interesting perspectives. Do you want to say some last remarks, Antonio?
Well, thank you very much first, Luis, to do this collaboration with the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce and the international, the Swedish Chambers that she coordinates. Thank you very much to Teresa Rydberg, to their CEO, Daniela, to the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce on behalf of the Ambassador of Mexico, Alejandro Adaya as well. And well, thank you very much. We are your first contact here in Sweden, the Embassy of Mexico in Sweden. We are here, first stop, and we will coordinate with all the chambers around. Thank you very much for this collaboration, Luis.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your attention. Goodbye.